Good morning. Today we are going to do Module 2, Unit 1, Lesson 12. And this is our last lesson in Unit 1. Okay, what we're going to do today is we are going to look at some famous paleontologists and their discoveries. So let's learn about famous paleontologists. Do you know what famous means? If somebody is famous, what does that mean? If someone is famous, that means they are well known around the world. Okay, famous. So let's look at fossil photo number 6. Go ahead and think about what you notice. This is paleontologist Wynne McLaughlin, and she has her tools, and she is ready to begin prospecting through sediment to look at the paleosols. Okay, so this is Wynne McLaughlin, and she is ready to begin prospecting through sediment to look at the paleosols. Okay, those are fossils. So we're going to read in our story again, Curious About Fossils, this nonfiction book. And we are going to answer questions about famous paleontologists using these details. Okay, so famous means well known around the world. So let's look in our story. And we are going to fill in a chart about famous paleontologists. Okay, here we go. I can make this bigger. All right. Fossils help tell about creatures that lived long ago, and that can mean big discoveries. In the 19th century, most people did not know dinosaurs had once existed. Mary Anning lived in England then. She was a curious girl from a poor family. Mary looked for things along the seashore that she could sell. She picked up shells and colorful pebbles and rocks with shapes in them. If Mary saw something interesting in a rock, she carefully chipped it out with a hammer. At the time, all these finds were called curiosities. Scientists came to the Anning family shop to buy Mary's curiosities. From them, she learned about ancient animals and plants. Mary discovered several new kinds of prehistoric animals, including the first pterosaur ever found in England. Mary's brother Joseph found a huge skull. Together, they dug out the rest of the skeleton of an ichthyosaur. Okay, you remember learning about that and reading about it? Okay, let's see if I can get us back to our chart. So let's go ahead and look at the chart with Mary Anning. So the paleontologist is who? Mary Anning. And what did she do? She hunted for fossils as a child and discovered the first ichthyosaur fossil. And why was it important? It was important because she discovered an important Jurassic marine fossil. In our story, remember she called it a sea creature or the sea monster. Mary Anning looked at shapes to identify animals that lived long ago. Okay, now let's look at another paleontologist. This one's going to be called Othniel Charles Marsh. Othniel Charles Marsh. More and more fossil discoveries were made from the mid-1800s on. In New York, Othniel Charles Marsh collected rocks and trilobites when he was a boy. Ancient birds became his special interest. Marsh developed the idea that prehistoric birds, such as Ichthyornis and Hesperornis, were descended from dinosaurs. Today, his theory is considered fact. Okay, here's crocodile fossils found by Othniel Charles Marsh. Okay, let's put him on our chart. Othniel Charles Marsh. Oh, went too far. Discovered prehistoric birds and developed the theory that they came from dinosaurs. Now his theory is widely accepted. Okay, let's read about Barnum Brown. He's next. Barnum, Mr. Bones Brown, hunted fossils for the American Museum of Natural History in New York. He found hundreds, including the very first Tyrannosaurus rex skeleton. And here's a picture of Barnum Brown and a Hesperornis skeleton. Okay. Charles Doolittle Walcott is who we're going to look at next. He also grew up in New York, and he was a fossil collector when he was young. Later, Walcott found the famous fossil location in the Canadian Rockies called the Burgess Shale. Shale is a kind of rock. Walcott used dynamite to blast the rock apart. He mapped what fossils were found in the different rock layers. Okay, and here are actual pictures of his field diary. So these are famous paleontologists. Okay, let's go back to our chart. So Barnum Brown found hundreds of dinosaur skeletons. Do you remember what was so important about Barnum Brown? He discovered the first T-Rex fossil. And Charles Doolittle Walcott, he found a fossil location in shale rock, and now this is a famous fossil site. Okay, so these were actual famous paleontologists. So today you are going to write a paragraph about a famous paleontologist. I will show you this chart. Okay, so you will have this chart to go by. You don't have to remember all of this, okay? You will have this to go by. But I'm going to give you an example of Mary Anning. Now, because I'm giving you this example of Mary Anning, you can't copy this same paleontologist. You can't copy Mary Anning, okay? Because I'm going to use this one as an example. So, first, in a paragraph, we have to have our focus statement. Our focus statement is what gives our reader just an idea of what we're going to write about, okay? So our focus statement is direct to the point. So Mary Anning was a very famous fossil hunter. Is that a good focus statement? Yeah, that's a good focus statement. It tells what I'm going to write about. I'm going to write about Mary Anning. When you write, you can put your famous paleontologist's name here. Just don't use Mary Anning because that's my example. Okay, the next part is our details. This is just a small item, a particular thing that we're writing about. Okay, this is going to be this part of the paragraph. Let's see if this is a good detail. She looked for fossils with her dog, Trey, on the cliffs by her home. She discovered a big sea creature called ichthyosaur. Is that a good detail? Yes. Talks about Mary Anning, who she was and why she was important. And our conclusion. Mary Anning grew up to be a paleontologist. Is that a good conclusion? Yeah, it brought it to an end. It finished it. It completed our paragraph. Okay, so you are going to pick one of these, just not Mary Anning. You can pick Othniel Charles Marsh. He discovered prehistoric birds and developed the theory that they came from dinosaurs. Now his theory is widely accepted. You might want to pick Barnum Brown. He found hundreds of dinosaur skeletons and he discovered the first T-Rex fossil. You might pick Charles Doolittle Walcott. He found a fossil location in Shell Rock, and now this is a famous fossil site. Okay, so don't forget, you have to have a focus statement, your details, and your concluding statement. Okay, you can use this same focus statement and just put in your famous paleontologist's name. Okay, and I will put this chart on Canvas for you so that you can look at it. Okay. All right, so you can go to Canvas and fill out your paragraph.